Well, hey team, how you doing? Welcome to day 3. How are you all enjoying the series? I have loved the last couple of days. Honestly, I've just loved connecting with you guys, and the amount of people in this challenge is really astonishing. Like, I had no idea that this information was so valuable and so needed in the world. And I know I keep saying this every day, but it is very, very true. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, today is all about ditching your excuses. And oh, let me just check actually that my microphone is on the right setting because sometimes it's not. It's not. Okay, let me change. Oh, I don't even have my bloody microphone plugged in. Let me plug the microphone in. Hang on. I do this all the time, but wait till you hear the sound's going to get really good in a second. Here we go. Ta-da! There we are. Okay, sound is now really good. I do this all the time. Like I plug my mic in or I forget to plug my mic in and I'm chatting away. And sometimes I record podcasts and I go, oh crap, my mic isn't plugged in. So it's just using the sound in my computer. So hopefully that is better now and I can talk into it in my late night DJ voice. I try not to shout into it because then you're like, oh, whenever it goes into your ear. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Ditch the excuses. I have to say, I really did find it hard to think about what I was going to talk about today because those of you who followed me for a while will know that one of my favorite things to teach is mindset. And when I say mindset, I really mean helping people to reframe their thoughts and reframe their patterns and reframe their negative behaviors and actually change their negative behaviors through reframing their mind. Because one of my favorite quotes is knowing what to do is useless without the emotional strength to do what you know. So all of us know what we have to do to achieve our goals, to get fit, to start a business, to change our relationship, whatever. All of us know what we have to do. But a lot of times we don't do what we know we should do because we just don't have the emotional strength to follow through. And so the first 2 days, I normally teach in a challenge. I normally start off with mindset stuff. So I normally create some kind of perceptual shift in mindset so people can really start to think differently. And then that's what I use to move them through the challenge and really create permanent change. But in this challenge for the last couple of days, I thought it was important to give you some real tools and real strategies first, because that's what so many of you have signed up for. You really wanted to know, what am I doing wrong? Why is my body doing what it's doing? And what can I do to change it? So that's what I did in days 1 and 2. But then today we're going to make a shift into the mindset stuff, which I think you're going to love because everybody does love it. But it was like, oh, I haven't given them any foundation for this. So how can I create a foundation within the training and also teach it as well? So I have found it quite tough today to create the material, but hopefully you guys are going to love it. And if you have any questions, of course you can. Well, I'm not going to take questions live here today, but my team is here answering questions and they will answer them live. But if you have any questions, definitely save them for the Q&A session this afternoon or this evening, wherever you are, or this morning, wherever you may be in the world. Definitely save your questions for the Q&A because I really want to make sure that you guys get what I'm teaching here because it is super important. So, okay, what have I written here? On Monday and Tuesday, I gave you the tools to start to change your body. However, knowing what to do is useless if you don't actually do what you know. So now you know what you need to do. How many of you will actually do it? There's the question. And I've written here, probably very little. Why? Because it'll be hard and you will make excuses. Because getting fit is actually very similar to starting a business, as the process is exactly the same. So I use a lot of metaphors in my teaching between business and fitness, simply because achieving a goal, the process is the same for achieving any goal. Doesn't matter what the goal is. I have learned through having massive success in my life that the process of achieving any goal is exactly the same. So today I'm going to give you some metaphors, some business metaphors that hopefully you're going to be able to try on, from your own experience, not of starting a business, but just of life, and be able to relate to those and have those aha moments that I'm hoping you're going to get. So let me tell you a story just to start. Whenever I was younger, I always wanted to be successful. I mean, my entire life, I've wanted to be successful. Whenever I was, a little girl, I used to say, whenever I grew up, I'm going to be this and I'm going to be this. And whenever I was younger, I wanted to be a pop star. And then my friend said to me the other week, you know what, Kim, you still want to be a pop star, or she said, you are a pop star, but just in a different way. Now I'm kind of an online fitness pop star, but I didn't really want to be a pop star. I just wanted to be famous. I've always been a bit of an attention junkie, but that isn't even the point of the story. But I always wanted to be, I guess, not even famous. I just wanted to be successful. Okay. Whenever I was very young, and I'm talking like 6, 7, 8 here, I wanted to be a pop star because those were really the only successful people that I knew of and could see. So, of course, then as I got older, didn't want to be a pop star anymore, but I did always wanted to start my own business. However, I met my husband. I did start a business whenever I was 20, about 24, I think it was. Yeah, about 24. I started a business and it was doing personal development trainings with a company in America. So they were kind of based on NLP and different styles of trainings. And I started to run the trainings here in Belfast, which is how I met my husband, Ryan. So I actually went to his house one night, introduced by a mutual friend, and I enrolled him in one of the trainings that I was doing. And subsequently we fell in love very, very quickly. And I met Ryan in January, and in November of the same year, I gave birth to our first child. So very quick, very slutty, actually. I think is how you'd put it. But we very quickly went on to have a few more children and got married in the process. And now we are happier than we've ever been 20 years down the line. So whenever I met Ryan and got pregnant, did not mean to get pregnant. Okay. Well, anyway, that's a story for another day, but did not mean to get pregnant. Find myself with a baby, loved being a mum, didn't expect to love being a mum as much as I did because I'd always denied being a mum and wanted to be successful. And so Ryan said to me, look, I don't mind if you never work again. Why don't you just stay at home and look after the kids? That's what I would love for you to be, is just a full-time mum. That's what my mum was for me. It's what your mum was for you. Why don't we do that? And I was like, okay, great. Let's give it a whirl. So I had a child, and then I had another child, and then I had another child, and then I had another child. So I had 4 children under the age of 5. Yes, I know. And I never actually gave up on my dream, though, of wanting to be successful. Like, my life got harder and harder and harder. And I was a stay-at-home mom. I decided to homeschool my kids so that my kids have never been to school. So I homeschooled my kids. I co-slept with them. I didn't have housekeepers or chefs or all of these things that I have now. I cleaned all the house. I cooked all the food. I did all the shopping. I took care of all the kids. Ryan worked full time and he was away an awful lot. But I had never really given up on my dream of being successful. And so I decided that whenever I was younger, I found this idea that I wanted my kids to have multiple languages. And so I spoke to Ryan about it, and he agreed that, languages was very important for the developing brain. And so we had my kids learn Chinese and Chinese, Mandarin, Spanish, Arabic was actually a language they had as well. And now they have French as well. So now they speak Chinese, Spanish, and English fluently. And then my other son, Kai, who actually works in the company, you may have chatted with him in customer service at some point, he speaks French as well. So I started this language company. My kids started doing really, really well in the languages. They became fluent very, very quickly. And I thought, what a fantastic idea. I should start this as a business, and I could offer this to, other families. And then I could, charge them a premium. I could, drive the teachers around, because my kids are, they have languages. And these were basically like nannies. They worked in our house a lot. So I really wanted to pay for this. I didn't want Ryan to have to pay for it. I wanted to pay for it, and I wanted to have more of what I wanted. So I went to Ryan with this as a business idea, and I said, what do you think about this as a business idea? And he said, don't do it. Now, Ryan was running a successful business at the time, so he knew what he was talking about. So he said, don't do it. I said, why? And he said, because it's not going to make you any money. And he said, if you want to make more money, or you want to make more money for our kids to have more languages, start a different business. Start a different business that'll make you more money, and use that money to pay for this. He said, don't use this to pay for this, because you won't make any money, and you'll end up running yourself ragged, and you'll drive around the country, and you'll waste money on fuel and all the rest of it. And there's not enough margin in it for you to make enough money. And I was like, Now, the thing is, I did trust him, because Ryan had a successful business. And I thought that what he was saying was valid. But honest to God, I didn't like it. I didn't like what he was telling me. I was like, no, I want to do this. And he was like, well, you wanting to do it is different than it working, right? Now, he was Ryan's very, very wise. He said, you wanting to do it, I know you want it and you want it to work. But he said, I'm telling you, it's not going to work. You're not going to make any money. And I was like, okay, right. Well, that makes sense. And inside, I was like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. That's what I was thinking. I'm going to prove you wrong. So I did. I set out to prove him wrong. How do you think this story ends? Do you think Ryan was right or do you think I was right? Well, whenever someone who has a lot of experience in business gives you advice about a business that you've started, and that advice is very practical and based on experience, you should probably pay attention. In fact, any time in life, somebody who has a lot more experience than you in doing and achieving the thing that you want to achieve gives you advice, you should probably pay attention. I did not do this. Please learn from my mistakes. So I started this business. I ended up running myself completely ragged. I wasted so much money. Oh my God, I lost so much money. It's not even funny. And I was trying to do the schedule and I was trying to, I remember Jack wasn't even born actually at the time. So I started the business before he was even born. And then I found out I was pregnant again. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to run this business while I'm pregnant and when I have the baby? And I remember the day after Jack was born, I had home births with my babies. And I remember the day after he was born, or the day that he was born, I think he was born at 1 a.m. And so that same day, I remember standing in my little home office. There was a big board on the wall. And I remember standing with a dry erase marker, trying to figure out where everybody was supposed to be and how I was going to get them there. And, and all these different families that I had brought on. It was hell on earth. And my brain just wouldn't work. And all I wanted was to be able to relax and spend time with my newborn baby. But I had literally created a job for myself that was just hemorrhaging money. But I persevered until I think Jack was about, I want to say 5 or 6 weeks old. He wasn't that old. And one day I was, I'm trying to run the house, do the shopping, do the cooking, do the cleaning, homeschool the kids. I'm co-sleeping with all 4 of them in this massive 18-foot bed. If you're interested in that, just Google Kim Constable bed and you will see a picture of my 18-foot bed with me with my children, because it was all over the internet. We went viral around the world whenever I posted the picture. So I was trying to do all this and I'm trying to run the business and I'm trying to coordinate my life and I'm trying to coordinate all of these different language speakers and I'm trying to coordinate all the families and I'm trying to get the kids out to their activities. And one day we were going out to tennis and I was trying to get them to their activities. And I had one in the car and then one with coat and shoes on. And then I put that one in the car and then that one got out of the car and then this one took off their shoes. And then I'm trying to hold the baby and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I literally just lost it. And I remember I just broke and I just sank to my knees in the middle of the hall and I put my face in my hands and I started to sob. I just started to cry. I just broke from holding it all together. And I remember the kids were like really shocked and they were like patting me on the arm. Mommy, are you okay? Mommy, the way kids do, they pat you on the back. Mommy, are you okay? They really just did not know what to make of this. And I just sat with my hands in my head and I cried and cried and cried and cried. And I was like, we're not going to your classes today. And even there was still a part of me still felt guilty. There's still a part of me going, come on, Kim, pull yourself together. You should get them there. And I was like, no, I'm not. And so anyway, I realized then that something had to change. Something had to change. And that something was me, because what I was doing wasn't working. So what is the point in all of this? Well, I've written here, I always wanted to be successful and earn my own money. But then I had 4 kids and became a stay-at-home mom. But I never gave up on my dream. And so, oh, sorry, that's the story. That's not the point. Here's the point. I always write story point. So my point is, even when someone tells us exactly what we should do, we are reluctant to give up what we like or love or are invested in. I really did not want to change. I wanted this language company to work. So I ignored all data to the contrary. I told myself that Ryan didn't really know what he was talking about. But really, changing was too uncomfortable. I wasn't willing to give up on what I wanted. It took me to hit rock bottom to really recognize that he was right. And that what I was doing was not moving me closer to where I wanted to be. So let's talk about this for a second. Have you ever had someone in your life tell you that you shouldn't do something and you went ahead and did it anyway, and then it turns out they were right? There is a lot to be said for learning from experience. And I'm all about trying and failing and learning from failure. I say you either succeed or you learn. And I'm all about trying and failing, but you have to understand what you're going for. If you are trying something and you want the experience of failure. You want to fail in order to learn. Well, that's completely different to actually wanting to achieve a goal. My goal was to make as much money as I possibly could so that I could have more freedom in my life and that I could give my kids languages and vacations and, anything that they wanted. I wanted to be able to give my kids a better life, which is exactly what I've done now. And this was my goal. And I took my goal to a mentor, my husband, who had started and built a very successful company, which he subsequently sold a couple of years ago. And I took my idea to him and I presented it to him. And he said to me, don't do it. It won't work. Here's why it's flawed. He didn't just tell me not to do it. He said, here's why it's flawed. And he gave me all of the different reasons. He showed me the different margins, the different areas. He wrote down numbers for me. He showed me percentages. He showed me costs, all of the experience I didn't have. He gave it all to me. And he told me why it wouldn't work. But I wasn't willing to give up on my dream. I wasn't willing to give up on what it was that I wanted. I just wasn't willing to make myself uncomfortable. I had decided that this is what I was going to do. And once I'd decided on it, changing away from it was uncomfortable. And I didn't want to be uncomfortable. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but I know it now looking back. I just was unwilling to change. And it took me wasting thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and going years down the line of this business to realize that he was right all along. And eventually I gave up the business and I had lost so much money and so much time. Yes, I had gained a lot of valuable experience, but not as much valuable experience as I probably would have gained had I actually found a business idea that worked. And I would have been so much further on than I am now. This is back in 2012. I gave up the business. You're talking 11 years ago. So let me ask you a question, right? And you don't have to answer here in the comments if you don't want to. You can just answer this for yourself. So here's the question. How many of you yesterday, when you heard what I taught, thought to yourself, OMG, I have to give up fruit or rice, potatoes, sweet potato? Like, oh, come on, sweet potato. Like, sweet potato is good for you. It's full of nutrients. It's full of vitamins. Oats? Like, I have oats every morning. What the hell is the matter with oats? Like, I mean, I'm sure she does know what she's talking about because, like, obviously she's, built this worldwide global fitness company that has, educated more than 500,000 women. But, like, come on, sweet potato? Fruit. Come on, fruit. You're all laughing. You're all going, yes, me. I love that you're so honest about it, right? So who yesterday thought, this woman is batshit crazy if she thinks that I'm going to give up my fruit? I can just have one piece. I mean, a mango in the morning isn't going to hurt. A piece of watermelon after lunch isn't going to move me too far away from my fitness goals. I mean, what's the matter with a banana in my smoothie? I only have a hand, or how many of you went, well, I mean, I hear what she's saying. Okay, no fruit. Well, I only have a handful of blueberries in my smoothie and half a banana. And like, occasionally I'll just have like a couple of passion fruit or an apple. I mean, sure, that's going to be okay, right? So you immediately listen to what I've said, and then you gave yourself all of these little outs, all of these little caveats for, well, why this was okay, and this was okay, and this was okay. It's the same with me with the business. I was like, okay, Ryan, I hear what you're saying, but we always have a but. I hear what you're saying, Ryan, but here's why you're wrong, and here's why this doesn't really matter. Oh, and but here's why I'm different, and but here's why. So we always have these excuses. We have all these excuses for why we don't have to change or why we can stay exactly as we are, because really that's what we want to do. We just want to stay exactly as we are. Why do we want to stay exactly as we are? Because as human beings, we are reluctant to give up that which we love or are emotionally invested in. I've written here, fruit is full of sugar and gives us a pleasure hit when we eat it. And as women, we are very, very bad at giving up things that make us feel good. Because as women, we love to feel good. We are so in our bodies, right? And this isn't our fault, okay? Women, when they wake up every single morning, feel different in their body because our temperature changes, our hormones change, our hormones fluctuate. Like our progesterone is higher just before our period, and then it plummets, and estrogen takes over. So our hormones move, our temperature moves, our bodies feel different. We have aches, we have pains, we have period pains, we have all of these different things from we're young girls, not very young, but from kind of puberty, right? We have all of these feelings in our body. They make us emotional, they make us angry, they feel physically different in our body. So we're very, very, very in our body, right? And because our body feelings go up and down, and one day we're really happy, and the next day we could bite your bloody head off. Okay. So because our emotional state changes every day, we don't like it when we feel bad, right? And we're constantly told, oh, she has PMS, or oh, looks like my wife's like she's a raging bull, or she's hangry, or we're judged and punished a lot for all of these negative feelings that we have, and so we just want to go back to feeling good. As women, we just want to feel good. Our primary mode of operation is towards pleasure. In fact, human beings' primary mode of operation is towards pleasure, but more so for women because we have this fluctuation in hormones and moods. Men don't have that. Men wake up every day and they feel exactly the same today as they did yesterday. There is very little that changes or influences a man's emotional state, and there's very little that changes or influences a man's temperature or hormones. And we see this because they get man flu. And if they ever get man flu and their temperature rises and suddenly their body feels different than it normally does, what do? They have a panic attack and they go to bed and they're, oh my God, I have the flu. And like, it gets nuts, right? That's only because they're not used to feeling bad. We're used to waking up, being in pain, feeling bad, having kids to take care of. And we just have to strap on, pull up our big girl pants and get on with the day, right? We can't take to bed every time we feel like a headache coming on, because we feel headaches a lot. We feel inflammation a lot. We feel pain a lot. And this has made us very strong in terms of being able to move forward in life despite our limitations, but it's also made us very emotionally invested in feeling good. Men don't have to be emotionally invested in feeling good, because men feel good every bloody day of their lives. Women don't. So we constantly want to get back to feeling good. So whenever someone says to you, you should give up something that feels really good for you in order to get rid of your belly fat, you're like, give up fruit? And then you go, do I really want to have a flat stomach? Does it really matter that like I have love handles? I mean, how much do I hate my love handles? And then you begin to weigh up giving up fruit or potatoes or pasta or sweet potato or oats or all of these things against giving up fruit. Okay. Sorry, against having a flat stomach or losing body fat. And then you ask yourself, how much do I really want this thing over here? Do I want it enough to make myself uncomfortable over here? Now, this is all a process that's happening in the back of your mind, right? You don't even know that this was happening. What it manifests as is, she's fucking crazy. That woman's mad. She's nuts. So you want to start to blame me, right? Because now in your body, you try on, I'm going to be without my pleasure, right? Do I really want this enough to be without my pleasure? And we try on not eating fruit, not eating potatoes, not eating oats, having to change, maybe having to go to the gym, maybe having to, I don't know, make ourselves uncomfortable. And your body goes, oh, no, 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 no. Remember, we've spent like 60 years avoiding being uncomfortable since you got your period when you were 13. We've spent our lives trying to avoid being uncomfortable. And now this mad woman over here in Ireland, is suggesting that like we should be uncomfortable on purpose. Nuts. She's wrong. She's wrong. She's wrong. She's wrong. She's wrong. This is what your body's doing. So we make all these excuses, right? So really, and then we go, well, it's just that like I need the fruit because, my doctor said that, that I am at danger of developing breast cancer because it's in my family, and I need fruit in order to fight the free radicals of breast cancer. In fact, it's very important that I have at least 5 pieces of fruit a day for that. Mm-hmm. Or we go, but I have a very stressful job, and I mean, I take care of my grandchildren for 4 days a week or 3 days a week on top of shift work. I need a lot of energy, and so I mean, potatoes and carbs and rice they're very important to me because I mean, I couldn't actually sustain the amount of energy I have to expend every day. I mean, and remain a good grandmother for my grandchildren if I don't have carbs. I mean, I tried carbs before. I tried no carbs before. I did the Atkins diet when it came out, and honestly, I was just such an angry person for days, and I don't want to go back to being that angry person because it had affected my family, and you can't possibly ask me to affect my grandchildren. I mean, that's really what you're asking me to do here. So we come up with all these, right, these really valid excuses for why we can't do this thing that the sculpted vegan has told me that I need to do. I mean, I signed up for this masterclass, but I didn't realize she was going to tell me to give up fruit. I mean, what kind of crazy bitch is she? Really? Like, fruit? Like, come on, give me some real strategies, Kim, some that I can actually follow through on. Well, you see, problem is there's what works and what I know works and what I've taught 500,000 women works, and then there's your comfort zone, which is over here, and the two of these usually don't go together, and that's why you're stuck and you're unhappy and you're overweight and you're putting on belly fat that you don't know how to get rid of. A lot of times, not always. And by the way, nobody here. This is all the other people I'm talking about, the ones who didn't show up to the masterclass, and not me, certainly, and not you watching this. This is the other people. Those other people who didn't show up today, they're the ones who are, who think they want to change, but when you show them what they have to do to change, are unwilling to do what it takes to change because it makes them uncomfortable. But quite often they don't even know it makes them uncomfortable. They just come up with an excuse, and the excuse covers up the discomfort. So this is what is going on. So here's what happened with me. Once I recognized that what I was doing wasn't working, i.e., when I sank to my knees and cried in front of my children, I realized the three little words that I should have said in the very beginning that I did not want to say. And those three little words were, Ryan was right. He loves it when I utter those words. We have this standing joke in the house now. We were with the kids. I love letting other people be right now because it means nothing about me. And it's really good to demonstrate this to your kids, to not get into right wrongs with people, not get into arguments with people. And so Ryan quite often, sometimes he'll say, oh, I think something's this way. And I'll go, no, it's not. It's this way. And he'll say, no, it's really not. And then I'll find out that he was right. And I'll go, Ryan, our lives would be so much simpler if you just could not be right all the time. And he laughs and the kids laugh. And, I'm always like, I love making him right. I don't know. It's just it's something that I've developed over the years. I love learning, because thing about it is, if you're right, you learn nothing. If you're correct in your hypothesis, then you learn nothing because you just confirm what you already knew. It's only when you're wrong, AKA incorrect, that you actually learn something. So I love being wrong these days. So once I recognized that what I was doing wasn't working, and it took me 2 years and a boatload of cash to recognize this, I started looking into online marketing, right? There were many, many mentors offering online courses. So I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go into online marketing here. I'm going to start, I'm going to write an ebook, or I'm going to do something in the online world, which means that I don't have to run around like crazy. I don't have to invest a lot of, capital in it. I don't have to employ staff. I can do something in the online world, which means I can get to stay at home with my kids. I can still homeschool them. I don't need to leave the house. It's not going to require a huge amount of investment. And I think I can have what I want this way, right? So here's one of the most important things in what I just said there. I said, it's not going to require a lot of investment, i.e. money. Nothing you ever do will be free or cheap. Nothing ever worth achieving in this life is free or cheap. It always requires an investment of usually money, most definitely money, but always time. It's never free. There are no free rides in this life. But again, I kind of thought, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I don't have an income and I don't really want to spend Ryan's money. So I'm going to figure this out myself, right? So I started looking into the world of online marketing, and I saw all these really good online courses that would have taught me how to do what it was I wanted to do. But I was unwilling to invest in them because I didn't really have my idea yet. I didn't have my idea. And I thought, I need to get my idea first before I invest. No, you don't. You don't even need your idea before you invest. This is just for anyone starting in online marketing or starting out in anything. Moving forward and putting skin in the game and getting into the world with the people who you want to be like is the thing that will move you forward faster than doing it by yourself. Just as a little side note. So I saw these online courses, Marie Forleo's B School. I always wanted to take that. It was $2,000. I was like, $2,000? There's no way on God's green earth. I just wasn't willing to invest. I wasn't willing to do what it took to have it because I just didn't see it as a worthwhile investment because I thought I didn't have an idea. What I didn't recognize is that buying B School, I did buy it years later whenever I was already successful because I was dying to see what was inside it. Buying B School actually would have moved me forward at the time. But this is a side note. So what happened was I started many, many online businesses. I started blogs. I started businesses. I started the Work at Home Mums Network. I started Yoga Talks, which was an online yoga detox company because I'm a yoga teacher, and then I went into teaching yoga at home, and I developed online yoga courses and in-person yoga courses, and I tried all these different businesses, trying to help me to be successful, and I had moderate success with each business. So each business made a little bit of money and move me a little bit forward, but it didn't move me where it was that I wanted to go. And then okay, well, this isn't working. It's not like making me, as successful as I want to be. So then I would move sideways and I start this business, and I would get really excited about it, and I would get it to be moderately successful. And I'd be like, it's just not moving me where I want to go. So I stopped and I moved sideways. I went to this business. And this is kind of like people who start different diets and they try the intermittent fasting and the keto and the Atkins diet and the no joy diet and the no fun diet and the beach body diet and the fit queen diet. And so they try diet after diet after diet after diet after diet, and they have moderate success and moderate success and moderate success, but they never, ever, ever really, I gesticulate a lot when I teach and I'm always hitting things. They never really achieve ultimate success because they're not willing to just commit and move forward in the long term. I don't know this from experience. I've heard of other people doing this. Not me. No one here has ever done this. It's the other people who didn't show up today. So here's what happened. One day, after trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing for 4 years, another 4 years went by. I decided I was going to start my own business in 2010, people, 2010. And in 2016, after 6 years of losing a boatload of cash and trying so many different business ideas and trying to do it all online with free programs or cheap programs or different things, I realized that what I was doing was not working. And I had the idea for the Sculpted Vegan. I'd started training in the gym. I loved it. I realized there were no plans online for vegan women anywhere who wanted to become bodybuilders. And my goal was to stand on stage as a bodybuilder. And so I started, this is what I was already doing on the side. I decided that I was going to start a business and I was going to launch an online program. And finally, thank God, I had the sense to realize that what I had been doing thus far was not working. And I needed a plan. I needed a plan from someone who had done what I wanted to do. And so I bought a program online by an online marketer called Amy Porterfield. It was called Webinars That Convert. And once I had created my program, I followed her blueprint step by step. And there were many things that I did not agree with. And there were many things that I thought were completely pointless. And there were many things that I thought, this woman is nuts. Why is this even necessary? I don't even see why this needs to be. But I realized that what I had been doing for 6 years had not got me where I wanted to go. So even if this woman told me to run naked up the street, screaming, Amy Porterfield is my mentor, that I would probably do it if she told me that that was more likely to make me successful. I stopped questioning based on what made me comfortable. And I just started doing what I was told, even if I couldn't see the point in it. And what happened was I committed to the process. I would not let myself move on to the next step in the program until I had followed through with the previous step, even if I believed that it was pointless. I would not let myself follow through. I launched my first program and I made $52,000 in my first launch. It was the first real success that I had had with a program or with an online business. And then I did exactly what she told me to do next, to put the program on Evergreen, it was called. I did that. And then I hired a Facebook ads company. It was one that Amy had used herself. I heard about it online. I heard it on one of her blogs. I hired them to do my Facebook ads. I borrowed £30,000 from a friend and I put £25,000 on a credit card, £55,000, $80,000 at the time. I borrowed I invested in myself and in my business. After I'd had some success, I kept investing and doing exactly what Amy told me to do. And I invested that in the business, and I did over $1 million in my first year. Now, I'm not telling you this to brag, okay? Because since that first year in 2000, and I launched in 2017, and by the end of 2000, same time in 2018, I'd done over $1 million in sales. And now the Sculpted Vegan since 2019 has done over $30 million in sales. And my goal next year is to do 15 million next year and 30 million the year after. And that's the plan that we put in place with the business. So, and again, I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm telling you this because I realized that what I was doing wasn't working. I didn't want to change what I was doing, and I didn't want to make myself uncomfortable. In order for me to purchase, Marie Forleo's B School, I would have had to maybe borrow money from my mom or borrow money from my husband or ask him to make this $2,000 investment. And if he made this $2,000 investment, I was actually going to have to follow through. This is what happens a lot of times. We see something we really want and we go, oh, I really love this fitness program. Oh, it's $500. And then you go, oh, well, I wouldn't be able to fit it in. I wouldn't, I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm a shift worker. There's no way I could, it's vegan. I'm not vegan. There's no way I could follow that diet. And we come up with all of the excuses as to why we can't follow through. We do this with a $47 program, $97 program, $500 program, $2,000 program. We come up with all of the reasons why we couldn't follow through. But the real reason we can't follow through is just that we don't want it enough. Or we have some other excuse. And really, for me, what it was at the time was I knew that if I asked my mother to lend me $2,000 to pay for Marie Forleo's B School, that I was going to have to follow through, because I couldn't ask someone to lend me that amount of money and then not actually show up and follow through. And I wasn't willing to make myself uncomfortable enough to show up and follow through. And I didn't believe in myself enough to show up and follow through. And I wasn't willing to take the risk. But rather than admit that to myself, I told myself it was because I didn't have the time. I was a stay-at-home mom. I mean, these were really valid excuses. I was a stay-at-home mom to 4 young kids. I mean, how was I going to find the time to do the course and do the business? And I mean, was I really going to be successful? The thing was, I didn't really believe in myself. I didn't really have the confidence to just go through with it. But also, I didn't really want it enough at the time. And that's okay. But whenever I did want it enough, whenever I decided enough was enough, 6 years down the line, despite having 4 homeschooled kids, I managed to train as a professional bodybuilder and stand on stage at the same time as I built the business. And I did this by using a very effective time management technique that I'm going to teach you tomorrow. So even if you never start a fitness program, you can use all this information to start a business. So using a very effective time management technique, which I'm going to teach you tomorrow, I managed to become a very successful bodybuilder and build the world's largest online vegan bodybuilding company. We have now sold 500,000 programs in the last 6 years. And all I did was decided that my why was stronger than my excuses. I've written here, I realized that what I was doing wasn't working. I had a goal, and for that goal to come to life, I needed a plan. And once I had the plan, I had to ditch all my excuses and commit to following through. It's amazing how when you decide that you're going to do something, everything falls into place. The universe makes room. I found the time. I carved the time. I got up at 4 a.m. every day and worked for 3 hours in the morning on my business before the kids woke up. It was the only time I had free. But I told myself before that I didn't have time, but I hadn't considered I had between 4 a.m. and 7 p.m. Kids went to bed at between 7 and 8 p.m. every night. And I did not like to go to, I didn't like to go to bed late, but I like to have some mama time, without the kids. Nothing wrong with that. But what I should have said is, well, I'm not willing to go to bed earlier so I can get up at 4 a.m. because I want the comfort and pleasure of not spending, not having to be a mum for a few hours in the evening. That's important to me. But instead I said to myself, or I said to everybody who would listen, oh, I just don't have the time. I mean, when would I fit this in? We all have the same amount of hours in every single day. And it's okay to say, it's just not important enough to me. In fact, it's preferable to say you're just not important. It's just not important enough to me, because at least then you're being real. At least then you're being honest with yourself. I would so much rather someone say to me, yeah, you know what? I would love to lose the middle-aged spread that crept upon me after 50, but I'm just not willing to do what it takes. I'm too lazy. I'm just not motivated. But instead, we say, I don't have the time. I'm too busy. I work too much. I'm too old. I have too many aches. I have too many pains. I have fibromyalgia. I have inflammation in my knees. I have shoulder injuries. I have baritis. I have PCOS. Well, no, probably not PCOS in your 60s, but do you know what I mean? So we have all of these excuses rather than, honestly, I looked at what I would have to do to make it happen, and I realized it was just too hard, and I'm just too lazy, and I just don't want it enough. I would have so much more respect for anybody who's willing to say that than anybody who's willing to make an excuse. Your excuses are simply comforts you're unwilling to give up. I had all the excuses in the world not to be successful. I was a stay-at-home mom to 4 kids under 5 who were homeschooled. I had a husband who worked full-time and a house to look after. I had zero help. But yet, despite my limitations, I managed to become a professional bodybuilder and build the world's largest online vegan bodybuilding company because I wanted it enough. To achieve something, you have to want it enough, because this is very important. Are you listening? If it's important to you, you will find a way. And if it's not, you will find an excuse. Maybe you don't want it enough, and that's okay. But just be real about it, because your investment in your excuses is not doing you any favors. You're putting the same amount of emotional and physical energy into the reasons why you can't do something than it would take to just do the damn thing. Like, I'm not asking you to train for the Olympics. I'm just asking you to maybe walk a bit more. And maybe on a Sunday, instead of, having a lazy morning drinking coffee or whatever, that you invest a bit of time in meal prepping for the week, right? Or you maybe spend 1 hour of your day learning macros and calories, or maybe you just make better choices with your food. That's all I'm asking. Might make you a wee bit uncomfortable, but I'm pretty sure you've maybe birthed a couple of kids and maybe looked after a sick relative and possibly looked after a husband or a wife, or maybe gone through a divorce, or certainly maybe the death of a loved one, or worked in jobs that you hated, or been abused either as a child or an adult. I'm sure you've had some trauma in your life, because life is trauma. Life is, what is it Jordan Peterson says? Life is suffering contaminated by malevolence. You've done hard things in your life, probably many, many, many hard things. So I get you wanting to be comfortable, but nothing good ever happened inside your comfort zone. You have to be uncomfortable in order to have what you want. But in order to have what you want, you have to know what you want first, and then you have to decide that you're going to do it. So let's look at your homework for today, okay? So your homework for today that I want you to have completed by tomorrow, preferably by the Q&A this afternoon so we can talk about it, is I want you to answer these questions for yourself. And you don't have to write them down. You just have to go check your email because we've sent you the PDF. Number 1, what is my why? Take a moment to dig down and discover what truly motivates you to make a change in your life. Why do you want to be different? Why do you want your body to be different? Write down all your reasons. I don't care how shallow they are. In fact, the more shallow they are, the better. I don't want you to write down, I want to inspire and empower women everywhere to feel more confident. And there's no bullshit. No, nobody wants that. I don't even want that. Whenever I started the business, I just wanted to be rich. And I wanted to be rich so I could be more comfortable. And I was willing to be uncomfortable enough to make myself rich enough to be comfortable. And now my kids have multiple languages, and they have private tennis lessons and private martial arts and private gym sessions. And we travel all over the world, first class. I made myself super uncomfortable for a period of time so that I could be comfortable now. And I work harder than I've ever worked in my life before. But the thing that I wanted, which was to give my kids and my family more freedom I have. I started as a professional bodybuilder because I wanted to put on a bikini and have people go, holy crap, she looks shit hot. Like it was so shallow. I wanted to have a bigger butt. I wanted people to look at my butt and go, wow, she has a great butt. In the same way that I used to look at other women who had great butts. I want to be admired. I love it when people look at me and go, oh, wow, you a professional bodybuilder? I love it, even today. All of us as human beings want to be admired. We want to look good. We want to be admired by our peers. We want to be admired by our friends. We want to have status in society and in our community. That's what we all want. We want to be noticed and we want to be appreciated. And there's all wrong with that. But the problem is we deny it and we go, I want to empower women everywhere. I want world peace. I want to, no, you don't. You don't want any of those things and stop pretending that you do. They sound wonderful on paper, but they're not going to motivate you, right? Whenever I started my first business, the strapline was, I want to empower work at home mums to start businesses so they can, to make more money so they can spend more time with their children. Because I thought that that sounded really good, right? I thought that that would have been a worthy cause for my business. You know what I realized? No stay at home mom wants to spend more time with their kids because they already spend enough time with the little bastards. Excuse me. They want to go for massages and facials and coffee with their friends. They want to afford babysitters and nannies and housekeepers and chefs. They want life to be easier. That's what stay-at-home mums want because their life is harder. And why would you want to do more of the thing that makes your life hard? Yes, we love our children and we love them dearly. But let me tell you, you can love them so much more when you have someone else to help you take care of them and someone else to do the laundry. I know because I have that now. And all the time I spend with my children who are teenagers, all the time I spend with them is deep, meaningful, connected time. I'm not nagging at them to lift their clothes. And my husband always says that we have very little friction points now in our marriage. Because sometimes the directors in his company will say, oh, do you and Kim ever fight about this? And Ryan's like, honestly, we have very little friction points in our marriage because we have a housekeeper and we have a chef and we have, we're not arguing over who's doing the laundry or who's picking up the kids or whatever. Our life is easy now. That's what I should have marketed to my stay-at-home mums, not spend more time with your kids, right? So I want you to be honest about what it is that you want. You don't even have to share it in the grid, but write it down. I want to be admired. I want to put on like a hot bikini and strut along the beach. I'm 60, but I want to wear a thong for the first time in my life and have a great ass. It may never happen, but who cares? Just be honest about what it is you want because these things that you want are the things that will motivate you to make yourself uncomfortable and stop making excuses. Number 2, am I willing to step out of my comfort zone? Acknowledge the discomfort of change and decide if you're ready to embrace it. Are you willing to give up the things that you want, the things that make you comfortable? What is it that makes you comfortable? What is it that you're holding on to? This could be, well, every time I start a fitness program, my husband gets upset because I'm exercising and I'm not spending enough time with him. Great. Write it down. That's one of the reasons, one of the things that makes you uncomfortable. I love socializing, going out with friends, and I'm not willing to give up wine. I love drinking wine. It relaxes me. Great, write it down. I love drinking alcohol too. It relaxes me. It's a very quick way for me to de-stress in the evening is to pour myself a glass of wine. So, all of these things that you are not willing to give up that make you comfortable, write them all down. No judgment here. Just write them all down. Number 3, what excuses have I been using to stay comfortable? Be brutally honest with yourself. Recognize the excuses you've been making and commit to letting them go. What excuses have you been making about why you can't have whatever it is that you want? Too old, too fat, too sore, too diseased, too busy, work shifts, take care of your grandkids, not enough time, can't drive, no money. What are they? I want you to write them all down because these are all of the reasons that you give yourself for why you can't have what you want. And they're all bullshit. I'm sorry, but they are. Because if you don't have enough money, well, you can get a second job. You can start a business online. You can crochet stuff and sell it. There's so many different ways. You can sell stuff on eBay. There's so many different ways that you could make money if you just got creative. But you're not willing to get creative because that's uncomfortable. So it's easier to say, I don't have the money. What you're actually saying is, I'm not willing to make or find or borrow the money. Very different when you take responsibility for what you're not willing to do. So I want you to write down all of your excuses. And again, you don't have to show this to anybody. You can share in the group if you want. I highly encourage you to do so because it's very freeing to be honest with yourself. But I want you to write down all of your excuses. And I'm going to help you work through them. And we're going to do that this afternoon in the Q&A. I want you to bring all your excuses to the Q&A, and I'm going to help you have mindset shifts and work through all of your excuses, because that is my favorite thing to do. And then tomorrow we're going to meet back here, same time, and I'm going to teach you the time management technique that I used to help me build the world's largest online vegan bodybuilding company and to sculpt a stage-worthy body and stand on stage many, many times as a professional athlete. And I did all this while I was homeschooling my 4 kids under the age of 5 whenever I started. And I used this technique to be wildly successful, and I'm going to teach it to you too. And it's epic, and it's going to change your life. So anyway, that's tomorrow, but I'll see you back here in just over 3 hours. We're going to do a Q&A, and thank you so much for showing up here. I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you got a lot out of it, and I will meet you back here in a couple of hours for another epic session. Until then, sending you so much love. Talk to you later.